And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that lovely Brood War OST as we have returned with our next series. As promised, we have a PvZ between these two lovely players, and spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have one of those players. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the American Protoss player representing Maturino Esports. He just took down the Tunitarian himself. It is Astrea. Here we go, looking very powerful so far, at least in the PvT. But how does he look against the PvZ? Against, not even against Zerg, against Dark specifically, because he's a very unique player, a very stylistic player as well. He's not one to be taken lightly, even on a map like Neo Humanity. I wonder how Astrea is going to approach this. So Neo Humanity, we talk about this all the time, has certain features to the map, has certain advantages, certain disadvantages as well. And they mainly lie in the early game and to get into the late game, as this is a very defensive map. If Astrea wanted to, he could try to play a more turtley style against Dark. We have seen players like Hero and Classic and even Creator and all the Protoss players, you know, even make use of carrier rushing on this map as well. That has been the trendy thing to do recently, to go up to 3 bases, go for a fast fleet beacon into fast carriers, and then we just switch from there. But there are definitely multiple facets and multiple ways to get into late game here as a Protoss player if you want to. Otherwise, you could also try to be hyper aggressive. Speaking of 2-gate opener, we have a 2-gate opener from Astrea, so he does want to start things off here with aggression. He wants to try to keep Dark on the back foot. With these early 2 gateways, usually it's only a gate expand, a gate into an expansion into a cybercore. Because we invested into the second gateway, we'll have faster adepts. We're going to have 2 and then 4 adepts very quickly here for Astrea. They're going to be going across the map, and they're going to be looking for economic damage. Now, Dark does see this. With this Overlord Scout, he does confirm both gateways here as a part of the wall. He also confirms how, or he's going to confirm how fast this Nexus was. So, is aware of the economic opener and of the aggression coming his way. There we go. First 2 adepts are being chronoed out. Again, it's not about the first 2, it's about the follow-up 3rd and 4th adept as well. So a very, very aggressive start from Astrea. Behind this, our tech of choice. This is looking like a Stargate opener. There it is. Stargate is thrown down for Astrea. Oracles will soon hit the field. Adepts are moving out. And Dark, no fear, he takes the forward base. He also prioritized gas income here to get 100 gas, go straight into link speed. Links are on the horizon, a lot of links as well. And we are gonna need them. Meanwhile, interesting, so we don't have a 3rd and 4th adept, we have a 3rd adept and a stalker coming out from Astrea. So with that, he's looking to deny scouting, to shut down this Overlord, to keep Dark in the dark. And so far, Astrea has forced a big reaction. He forced a lot of links to be made, which is kind of a good thing, but it's Dark we're talking about, so he's actually going to make use of those links. He avoids the adepts, he goes across the map, he is looking to deny this 3rd. Up. Adepts get here, they get here just in time. There is a surround, and it looks like one of the adepts is going to be focused down, the other as well. Oh my god. Yeah, the other as well. A very nice cleanup here by Dark. He takes down both adepts, delays the 3rd base by a moment. And despite the opener here from Astrea, I would say that Dark is coming out ahead and is even throwing down a very fast Roach Warren. This is looking like the beginnings of a Queen Roach push. I say Roach push, I should say all in. There is no reason to throw down a Roach Warren this early on if it's a Stargate opener. This is a 4-minute Roach Warren against a Stargate opener. This usually does lead to like one big push, and here we go. The rocks are already being worked on. Creep is pushing out across the map. This is the advantage of the center base, is that this is kind of a launch pad for your creep to move out across the map. Oh, but was Dark a little bit too greedy? Adepts a shade into the natural base. Drones are going down, but we force a recall. plenty of Lings. Only 2 Adepts will make it out. Oracles do come in from behind, though, and they take down even more drones. 5, not too bad. Does slow down the all-in from Dark. But Dark is committed. 4 Roaches. Got Lings on the way. Rocks are being knocked down, and Astrea should recognize this. He should be able to piece together that, hey, the rocks are going down. We have Roaches on the way. We have very little saturation at this hatchery. Queens are being brought forward, and Dark is getting ready for this massive committed push. Back at home, what do we have? It looks like Astrea has recognized what's happening. We have a second pylon, a shield battery, a cannon on the way, but is this too late? It does feel a little bit late here, but we'll see if he's able to muster up a defense in time. Queens are waddling across the map. Roach Ravager pushing forward as well. It's going to take a while, so it looks like this cannon at least is going to finish. Never mind. Cannon is going to get piled down. Solid overcharge out of Astrea within range of the cannon and the Adepts. Really good positioning. Astrea, he's holding. He cleans up the Lings. Cleans up the majority of those Lings, but the overcharge does run out. Oof. And you can see Dark looking to bust into that natural base. Lings are coming in to reinforce, and yeah, they do flood into the natural, and the Immortal has come out. On the pylon. Oof. Very important pylon for Astrea. Very low, and it is going to be targeted down by those Ravagers. But honestly, these Adepts have been doing well. So far, a really good defense out of Astrea. As long as he's able to avoid the surround, the Oracle's coming into play. Files! Oh, they take down both shield batteries. Unfortunately, they were packed together. But with the arrival of this Immortal, I want to say that Astrea should be able to hold on. Oh god, no! Ooh, as I say that, the Biles connect on the Oracles. Very juicy connections. And Dark is droning behind this. It looks like he has recognized that he cannot break Astrea. So waddling back home. And Astrea has held. He did sustain some losses, yes. But he didn't lose any workers. He lost his Oracles, and we're getting to Void production as we speak. Warp Prism is on the way. I love it. So we're looking to go for a big counterattack. And I'm sure a big part as to how Astrea was able to defend wasn't just his positioning and his reaction, but also his scouting, his ability to kill workers and slow down the all-in of Dark. And now Astrea is ahead. Astrea has a better economic position. Dark only just now working on his lair. Like, he had no lair, which means no roach speed, which means no +2, no bailing speed. Like, Dark is not really set up for the mid game. And you can see here he's trying to slow this down. Knocks down some of the rocks. Dark needs time. So Prism is going to be pushed back. Likewise, Astrea also doing a decent job at just keeping the creep at bay. Slowly forcing it to recede. Prism slips into the main, but Dark has eyes on this. He does have Roaches following. En route. And things are going to be settling down. Things are going to be settling down here as Dark is just building up his Lingbane Roach Ravager army. He does have an infestation pit on the way. That'll be for Hive Tech, potentially Swarm Host, potentially Infestors. Meanwhile, Astrea, he's just capitalizing on his economy and extending it, expanding it, taking a fourth. And there it is. It is going to be Swarm Host. I think this is a really smart idea just because I think Dark knows he's behind. And Swarm Hosts are a really good way at gaining efficiency over time and, yeah, just, you know, getting yourself back into this. Being as supply efficient as possible. Especially if your Locust waves get a lot of value. So it's a risky move, definitely. But we'll see if it pays off, because Astrea is going to be cleaning up a lot of this creep. Big storm. The stormers are revealed. And yeah, the storms are going to zone away the locusts. But that was a lot of storms. And this may even force Sky Toss. Oh, the Void Ray! Oh, a bit of miscontrol out of Astrea. The Void Ray goes down, an Archon as well, even an Immortal. And that's already a good amount of value here for these locusts. To get an Archon and an Immortal to force a little bit of misstep here from Astrea. Now we're getting ready for another wave, a second wave towards the natural. Here we go, Locust Wave coming in from behind. Astrea doesn't quite see this coming. Almost catches those Swarm Hosts. Looks like he will catch some of those Swarm Hosts. Very nicely done, but the Locust Wave comes in and the Nexus goes down in the blink of an eye. They have a lot of... They even take down the Robo as well. At that much time. In the end, a Swarm Host went down to these Stalkers. So again, really good pickoffs from Astrea. But that wasn't quite worth losing a base and a Robo. Meanwhile, a bit of miscontrol, or a little bit of miscontrol by Dark. Mispathing, I should have said. A lot of Ravagers are going to go down for free. Likewise, Astrea also mispathing a little bit. Gonna be losing some of those Stalkers, but of course Astrea did come out a little bit better after that trade. Lurkers are in production. Dark transitioning into Hydras, into Lurkers, really fortifying himself. And I think this is a bit of a late transition, but Astrea is working towards Sky Toss. And here we go, Astrea. He blinks on 40, gets on top of the Lurkers. Sorry, gets on top of the Ravagers. Does have detection. Does have an Observer with his army. As he moves out, here come another Locust Wave. Probes are going to be going down across the map. Astrea still focusing on his push. Loses the Observer, loses his detection. He can't get on top of these Lurkers, not anymore. And Astrea, he has to back off. Oh no! Bleeding out a couple of units in the retreat. The power of the Lunker Papi. And now Astrea, he has to wait for his Sky Toss. So we go, carriers are in production. At least his economy was maintained for the most part. He lost a couple of workers, but not too many. I want to say 3. So it looks like a couple more of these Swarm Hosts are going to get caught out. Not too bad, but Dark, he just moves in on the right-hand side. Yeah, out-positioning Astrea. Cutting him off from this Nexus, from this base. And the base itself should fall. Yeah, 10 workers go down, and Astrea, he once had an economic advantage, an economic lead, but no longer, as he loses his 4th. It was a strong start for Astrea, but we can see that in conjunction with the Swarm Hosts, also with the Lurkers, Dark's just pulling Astrea apart. Locust Wave still continuing as well. Now, Astrea can come back in this game. He's currently behind, but oh, that was a misplaced Nexus. No! Not like this! Okay. Is currently behind, but if he's able to re-establish a 4th base, and even a 5th here on the right-hand side, if these get back up and running, he can max out. He will have the economy to do so. The problem is that Dark himself is about to max, and now he can be aggressive. He's moving out. He's looking to surround this army with the Lurkers. There is no way out. Oh, big shots are going to be going off. forcing a recall to save whatever Astrea can. At the same time, we do have a Ling run by, takes down a High Templar. And the Lurkers push in, canceling the center base. Even though Dark doesn't have an answer to the Sky Toss right now, you can see that he's just pulling his opponent apart with Lings, with Lurkers. We just haven't hit critical mass of Sky Toss, not yet. And I don't think we will, just because we already have a Spire in production. So Darky's working on his own anti-air, his own anti-Sky Toss army. He has Hydras for the time being, and he's soon to have Corruptors. Another Locust Wave comes in. Shouldn't get the base this time, but does force the overcharge, and gets a lot of hull damage through the overcharge as well. Oh my god. They have a lot of DPS. Oof. As the Immortals were just a little bit stuck there. You can see Astrea just looking for those Swarm Hosts, and it looks like he will find them. Not a bad pickoff here from Astrea. As long as he doesn't lose too much. Up, up! Oh, god. Dark actually target fired a High Templar there, just to get a little bit more value. But finally, the Storm Hosts have been dealt with. As Astrea moves out on the right-hand side, the Lurkers push in. That's a kill, not a cancel on the center base. Ay, ay, ay. No, no, as the carrier is getting bullied. Yoinked into 2 queens. Looking at the units tab here, we are up to 6 carriers. We have a couple of... we do have a decent amount of High Templar to zone the army away. I do still think that Astrea's army is a difficult army for Dark to push into at the moment, just because he doesn't have too many Corruptors. But maybe I'm overestimating the power of Storm. Astrea, he's lacking Archons right now. Outside of Storms, there isn't really much to support these carriers against the Mass Corruptor. We are up to 14 Corruptors at the moment. Speaking of Storm, there we go. A couple of Storms are going to be thrown down. Big Storms on the Hydras. Corruptors are looking for a way in. They don't quite find it. You can see that Astrea is slowly maxing out. He's getting there. Hydras are going to be going down for free. Good pickoffs. Lurkers have to respect the carriers. And Dark doesn't have the best Corruptor upgrades. He's only got +1 attack. Working on +1 carapace. It's going to be a while before he can really get some good upgrades going on. Nidus, I love the Nidus play. It's a great way to make use of these Lurkers, as the Lurkers are slowly running out of effectiveness. Dark is soon going to need to trade them out for something like Broodlords. Not yet, but soon. So God. Those are going to be going up. We're still on 14 of these Corruptors. Big feedback on one of the Vipers. There is still another in the back line. Meanwhile, Nidus into the natural is spotted by Astrea. He should be able to clean this up. Gets surrounded. Dark has slowly been refining his army. And here we go, the Corruptors are diving on forward. There are no Archon. Storms are the only thing protecting these carriers, and it's not going to be enough. The carriers are going to go down one after the other. Oof. It's a bit of a costly fight, to be fair, and it looks like Astrea is going to be able to force this back. But Astrea, he just lost 5 carriers. Oh, 6 carriers now. And he is down to only 3. It wasn't the cleanest fight from Dark, but it was a fight that he knew he could take. Again, without any Void Rays or Archons or a mass amount of Blink Stalkers, Storms just aren't enough to fend off these Corruptors. And I'm sure Astrea knows that. It's just he's, doesn't have the the best economy right now. He doesn't have the largest bank. He's building up on it. He's building it up, but alas, he still needs to hold on to these bases. Big storms here on the lurkers and the hydras. But every high tempo is going to be going down. Dark has too much. He overwhelms this position. Nexus will fall, and we still haven't built up those carriers. We are only up to 4. Now we're down to 3. As Dark dives in, takes down another. It's been an uphill battle for Astrea. He almost brought himself back into this. He's been fighting back, trying to expand. There we go. Finally, we have a decent Archon count, but at this point, it may just be too late. Here goes the Copters. They dive on forward once again, resetting the carrier count. Now, to be fair, they don't really have much else to do, as we are just transitioning into a more ground-heavy army. Astrea, there's a moment for him. Like Dark, a lot of his supply are in these Corruptors. He's making Hydras as we speak. How many Lurkers does he have? He only has 4 Lurkers as well. Astrea can still pull this off. But he has to make this push worth it. He has to bust into a base. He has to deny one of these hatcheries. Oh, his Archons are getting very low. It's been a long fight for them, and yeah, Astrea, he doesn't have enough. He has to back off. There we go, he's forcing a bigger reaction into Lurker play again. There are only 10 Corruptors. Right now, Dark is hyper-fixated on rebuilding his Lurkers. And Astrea is still committed to carrier production. He's still in this. Especially with this bottom left-hand base. It's like up and running, fully saturated. Not looking too bad. He's regaining control of the right-hand side. Dark also, like, I haven't been putting too much attention on Dark's economy because it's been solid so far, but he hasn't been taking full advantage of Astrea. Like, for the entire game, basically, Astrea has been stuck at home, right? Like, Astrea hasn't been harassing, he hasn't been punishing any bases, so if Dark wanted to, he could have taken these fringe hatcheries a lot faster. Even maybe some of Astrea's bases as well. Just because of how much map control Dark had. Because he didn't, these bases are still up for grabs, and Dark doesn't have the best economy either. He's not up to 80 workers, he doesn't have this 5th base up and running. Dark was maybe a little bit lax. A little bit too relaxed. But we'll see. As on the left-hand side, we do have a lot of Archons going down. Good target firing on the Disruptors, and oh, Dark is collapsing on this army once again. It takes down a carrier. No Archons to support, and Dark takes another great fight. Meanwhile, over on the right-hand side, can Astrea clean up these Lurkers? He barely cannot. Oh, Astrea losing on both fronts. And that may just be all it takes. Yeah, things are escalating very quickly. This Nexus is going to go down. Lurkers are on the right-hand side. 9 more mining. Again, Astrea, he fought back well. Did fight back well, but barely not able to stabilize. Whenever it feels like he's like got a decent economy, that's when Dark comes in, denies more mining, takes down a Nexus. Astrea just can't catch a break. What I said earlier still applies, in the sense that Dark, again, he doesn't have the most amazing economy behind this, but now he has bottom left up and running. He's got top right on the way. And here we go, he's pushing his way towards one of the last mining bases here of Astrea, and Astrea cannot contest this. This Nexus is going to go down. And with the death of this base, that may just be it. As the carriers are struggling to even deal with these Hydras. There we go. The Corruptors dive in. Big Nova on the Hydras. A decent Storm as well. But there's just too much Zerg. There's too much Dark. Astrea did fight hard in this game, and hey, is killing every single Corruptor. Zelda coming in from behind. But for the most part, Astrea has lost his army. GG gets called, and Dark will take game number 1. GG. And that was only game 1, by the way. Oh my god. Only game 1. But things were getting close there, as in Astrea was almost recovering from all those losses. Remember as well that that all started with Dark going for a big all-in, a hatch tech all-in with Roaches, Ravagers, and Queens, and Astrea was able to hold. And after that initial hold, Astrea was ahead. But if you remember, that's when Dark decided to go into Swarm Hosts. That's when Dark decided to take a bit of a chance going to Swarm Hosts, and those Locust Waves were doing a lot for him, keeping Astrea at home and getting damage done, sniping bases, sniping tech. And from that point, Dark, he rushed into Lurker tech. And by the time Astrea wanted to counterattack, wanted to be active on the map, he was pushing into Lurkers. And Dark was the one who was able to initially turtle up. And again, we talk about the advantages of Neo-Humanity all the time. Specifically because of this map, it meant that even though Astrea had an economic advantage and arguably had an army advantage, pushing up ramps and into these choke points into Lurkers was just a little bit too difficult to pull off, and Dark was able to stabilize as a result, and Astrea was a little bit late to transition into Skytoss after seeing the Lurkers. If you remember, it took him a couple of minutes before, it took him like a minute after seeing the initial Lurkers to like transition and to start taking in that direction. Into carriers. And by the time he did, he was being pulled apart. He was losing bases, losing his 4th center base. It was all just a bit much. And GG. GG, well played. I think what I'm excited about is, again, it wasn't too one-sided. You could argue that maybe it was close because Dark failed his all-in initially, and that's why it was as close as it was. Definitely an argument there, but we'll see. We'll see in game number 2 if Astrea can bring it back. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Gaming, leading the series 1-0. It is Dark. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the American Protoss player representing Maturino Esports. It is Astrea. Here we go. I do see some people in the chat asking about Masters Coliseum. ESL Asia all the way. Letting them know. So our current plan here is that we are going to cast ESL Open Cup Asia to its conclusion, all the way to the finals, and then once we wrap that up, we will go into Masters Coliseum. I mentioned this earlier. Unfortunately, that means that we will miss 1 or 2 series of Masters Coliseum. Tis a shame, but we also plan on doing a replay cast. We can catch up on that later on in the week. And of course, we'll still be able to cast the majority of Masters Coliseum, just not the beginning. As we are getting into this. So far, we do have a pretty interesting opener here from Dark as well. Looking for a standard hatch gas pool. Astrea likewise going for a gate expand. This time he doesn't go for a double gate opener. Remember, winding it all back to the start of game 1, Astrea was the aggressor with a 2-gate opener. But on a larger map like Ancient Cistern, he's not going for that at all. Going for a gate expand instead. Meanwhile, I was really curious about this. So I'm pretty sure Dark did prioritize his gases a little bit faster, so he's going into a faster link speed. I wonder if that's just for safety or if he does intend to be a little bit more aggressive with this, as link speed is already on the way. From there, of course, just completely pulling out of gas. Don't need it, not anymore. And Dark is just, you know, getting into his third base, maintaining control of his side of the map. Likewise, Astrea going to a Stargate opener. Talking about the map itself a little bit, I mean, I guess that's one of the things that I love about StarCraft, is that a lot of these maps do kind of dictate the styles of play, and that was definitely a factor in Game 1. Here in Game 2, Ancient Cistern is a lot more wide open, it's a lot larger, a lot more bases. Because of that, it can sometimes be difficult to be aggressive as the Protoss player in the mid game, just because there are just so many avenues of attack, and it's so much more easier for the Zerg player, to surround and to engage. So Astrea has to respect that. You can go for a more defensive style as well and just wall off and try to get into Sky Toss. It is possible. I don't think Astrea is that kind of player. I know that we saw Sky Toss earlier in Game 1, but that was because of Lurker play. Like, because Lurkers hit the field. Without them, I do think that Astrea would have stayed on a much more mobile army instead. And here we go. The first Oracle is moving out across the map. Adepts have been kept at home to make sure the third base goes up uninterrupted, as the Lings do arrive. Meanwhile, the Oracle gets across the map looking for some economic damage, and we're going to be able to get a couple of drones. 3 workers, not too bad at all. Spores are done in the main and the natural, but not at the third. Meanwhile, the Oracle heading towards the main base as well. Queens are in position, or they're getting in position, so we shouldn't really get as much damage done here, as the Oracle is forced back. And once again, Dark going for a fast Roach Warren. Now, if you remember, in the previous game, he went for a 4-minute Roach Warren against the Stargate opener, which led into the Queen Roach all-in, of course. Here, this is around a 4-minute 30 Roach Warren timing. Still early, I would say, but obviously not as early as game number 1, so this may just be for safety. Typically, against a Stargate opener, you wouldn't get a Roach Warren until around the 5-minute mark, just because it's unnecessary to do so beforehand. Like, what are you doing with roaches this early on, unless you want to be like hyper aggressive? And there we go, roach speed is on the way. We should be working on +1 melee. +1 range would give us a bit of a tell that he plans on going for a big roach ravager based attack. But there it up. We thought about it. We started +1. There we go. We started +1 melee for a moment, but there it is. +1 range is on the way, and this explains now why we got the Roach Warren so quickly. It was to rush into roach speed, and with +1 range, it looks like we are going for a very roach ravager heavy composition. We're going to be going for a big timing. I imagine we're going to be cutting workers at 66. As I say all of that, interesting. We have an infestation pit. Bit of an overextension out of Astrea, but I was not expecting the pit after seeing this +1 timing. This could be for Swarm Host again. Of course, +1 range does benefit the Swarm Host. Otherwise, this could be to transition into Hive Tech and Lurkers. There we go. There it is. There's the Hive Tech. There's the Hydra Den. When the Hydra Den finishes, we can go straight to the Lurker Den in time for the Hive. Aye. Alright, Dark. He's going to take this slow. So, the Roach Ravager is mainly a defensive tool here for Dark. Oh, a big scout from this Phoenix. Does get eyes on the Morphing Hive and the Hydra Den. Now, Astrea should piece this together, and he should know that this is for Lurker play. Now, upon seeing Lurkers, this should trigger a reaction. Either Astrea is going to hit a big timing before the Lurker Den finishes, or Sky Toss. Either one would be good, and it looks like we're getting ready for an assault. Prism is out. Immortals are coming together. Storm is on the way, and Storm should finish before the first lurkers hit the field. It's going to be a tight timing, though. And if we're not going to be hitting this timing, I do think it's a mistake not to go into Sky Toss. And there we go. We're going for a second Forge. Looks like Astrea, I don't think his heart is going to be in this. We'll see. This Forge does show us that he wants to, again, think further ahead and prepare for a later game. And Prism isn't with this army. This is just some pressure from Astrea. Big Storm though. Oh my god. His pressure's crazy. Big Storms on the Hydras. Again, upon seeing all these Hydras, like, Astrea should recognize what's happening. He is going to mass Immortal production. Interesting choice. So this does do okay against Lurkers. Immortals, they actually do surprisingly well against Lurkers. They tank a lot of hits and they do a lot of bonus damage. But it's still difficult to pull off because obviously it's a ground-based unit and you do have to get on top of the Lurkers first to make that happen. I guess that's what the Storm is for. There's +1 air attack. I think this is late, but Astrea, he's clearly thinking about Sky Toss, and we'll see. We'll see if he can get there. We'll see if we need to get there. To be fair, like, maybe I should put more faith in these Immortals. God, this is a really risky maneuver from Astrea. We were talking about earlier, like, it's really dangerous to skirmish on the map like this as a Protoss player because you are so prone to being surrounded. Stasis Trap does cover his flank. We got 7 more Lurkers in production. There it is. There's the Fleet Beacon. There's the Stargate. This Immortal army is pretty hefty, to be fair. It's a lot of Immortals. Looks like the goal here is that Astrea wanted to use this army to be active, to survive, to give himself enough time to actually get into this Sky Toss production. Oh, he's got a massive bank, though. Yeah. Yeah, and pushing up this ramp here, he's able to get on top of some of these Lurkers. Big Storm. But yeah, pushing up this ramp is not going to happen. At least Astrea doesn't commit. He preserves his Immortal count. 2 more Spies are on the way. Dark getting ready for his own Sky Zerg transition. And here we go. We do see Dark rotating around towards the left-hand side, looking to try and harass and try to pull apart Astrea. Astrea, he's doing well posturing, and he's cleaning up a lot of creep. He's denying the center base. Again, I don't expect Astrea to ever push into these Lurkers. He's just trying to maintain map control. He's even pushing on the left-hand side. Big Storms on the Lings! Astrea doing an amazing job here, cleaning up all of this creep, taking down every single active tumor. And he's doing it. He is buying himself time, gaining map control, and getting into Sky Toss. He's made it, fam. He's made it. And it looks like Dark has accepted that. Oh, he's going to be losing a base. But Dark, he's completely walling off Spine Crawlers, Spore Crawlers, all over the place. We have 1-1 upgrades for the Corruptors. Oh, God. Bold move here by Dark, pushing off of creep. Again, it is Astrea with the map control right now. And he has plenty of Storm to make sure he doesn't get surrounded. Again, this is still a delicate dance. At any moment, Dark can try to surround this, and if he ever does, then things will snowball out of control. So Astrea has to be very meticulous and very careful with his control. There we go. Does connect with some of those Storms. Does force back the army. Vipers have arrived. You're going to be looking for some abductions. Oh! They do get 1. But big feedbacks on those Vipers. Very nice control out of Astrea overall. And he can, at this point, now he can afford to lose some of these units. He can afford to lose an immortal hero there because here come the carriers and Astrea is maxed. He needs to make room for carriers. Oh god! We do need to make room, but not like that, as Astrea does throw away a couple of immortals. Thankfully, he's not being punished for it, but it's okay. We're making more carriers, working on Tempest. Something that we are lacking, and it's what we were lacking last time. Carriers are okay, sure, but they typically need something to support them against Corruptors, whether it's Archons or Void Rays. They're typically the two best units. Storm is okay as well, but like ideally we want to incorporate some more Archons into this army. Otherwise, Corruptors will reign supreme, just like the last game. Right now it's difficult because a lot of supply for Astrea is tied up in these Immortals. So he has to slowly wean himself off of them. Meanwhile, 2-2 on the way for Dark over here towards the south. We do see the Immortals pushing them forward. They are going to be going down. We have to be very careful to lose too much too quickly. As the Immortals on the left-hand side also get cleaned up. You can see Astrea plummet in supply. That was a bit much. Wasn't quite able to react in time over towards the north. And for now, it's still just remaxing here on carriers, on Immortals. Basically, for Astrea, this is a game of just refining the army. Slowly just phasing out whatever's being scaled out at this point and phasing in the new and improved Protoss. Likewise, it's the same with Dark. I should emphasize that as well. He has a lot of lurkers, and as the carrier count gets higher, the investment into these lurkers is a little bit less impactful. And again, Dark knows that. So here we go. He's going for a big counterattack at the same time. Astrea does take control of the center of the map, once again taking down that base. Dark ideally would like to get rid of all these roaches. They are basically dead supply. Here we go. Good number of those spores do go down. God, that's a lot of Corruptors. How many do we have? 20. We have 20 Corruptors, Papi. Alongside 2 Vipers for Parasitic Bombs as well. This is what I mean. Like, to deal with all these Corruptors, we need more than just carriers. We have 3 Archons on the ground, which is... It's an amount of Archons. Get me wrong. And 3 Archons isn't too bad, to be fair. As long as they can focus on Corruptors and nothing else. You can see Astrea poking in with those Interceptors. Getting Queens, getting Spores. Not too bad. Meanwhile, towards the left-hand side, it looks like the carriers are being caught out. One of them does go down. Big pick off here from Dark. That's how large his Corruptor count is. He can afford to have like these 2 roaming forces. And Astrea, thinking about backing off. And there it is. Void Rays are now in production. Not a bad choice. Especially considering how many lurkers there are. Again, it all does help. Void Rays with Prismatic Alignment, they absolutely just annihilate Corruptors. They melt them. Now, the moment that I'm kind of waiting for, if at any moment the Archons expose themselves, we should be abducting the Archons. Oh, as we just go straight for the carriers. Do get one. take a big storm to the face. But if these Archons go down, because there's only 3 of them, if they do end up falling, then that's just a green light for these Corruptors to dive on top of the carriers immediately. Everything is just going to escalate very quickly if that does ever occur. So Astrea does have to be careful. 3-3-3-3 on the way. 3-3 for air units and 3-3 for the ground army as well. All the +3 upgrades. Finally, the Roach Ravager gets cleaned up, gets thrown away. Gonna be replacing it with Lings and with Corruptors. When it comes to the economic position, for the most part, Astrea's looking pretty solid. He hasn't been too slowed down when it comes to his bases. Dark has been, but he's finally getting top left. He is getting that up and running. Looking at the units tab, we up to 30 oh my god, 30 Corruptors. That's a lot of Corruptors, Baffy. But likewise, that Void Ray count has also been getting higher. We have 8 Void Rays. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a lot, but with Prismatic Alignment, again, they can shoot through those Corruptors. But here we go. We're going in. We're getting on top of the High Templar. There's only a couple of storms available. That is it. That's the last storm. Prismatic Alignment will shoo away these Corruptors. Can we split? Can we split? Up! Up! We do split. Thank God. But that was a good fight for Astrea. For the most part. He did lose all of his High Templar, so no more storms are available. Bear that in mind, but he kept all of these Archons alive. Oof. Dark looking for a fight. Barely not picking off those Archons. Like, you could see as soon as the Prismatic Alignment is activated, like, Dark respects it immediately. He just completely backs off. The power of the Void Ray. Both Vipers did survive. We have 1 Infestor remaining. Bit of a gateway counterattack here. Does come across Banelings and should clean them up. I don't know how I feel about the fact that we're not replacing the High Templar. There's only 1 High Templar left. Barely any storms. The carriers are pushing in. Corruptors are out of position, but now they're coming in from behind. Again, there's only 1 Archon with this army. Okay, now we're morphing in a couple more High Templar. Like, there's a delicate balance here. Jesus, we've got 12 more Corruptors on the way. It's gonna be 37. There we go, more Archons are coming in. Looks like some of the reinforcing carriers are getting found out. Very nice pickups from a Dark. 2 carriers go down for free, essentially. Meanwhile, Dark pushing up this ramp. Again, his Archons are taking a lot of hits due to these lurkers. He's going to be very careful. Doesn't want to lose them prematurely. As the Corruptors are coming in from behind. Big storm on said Corruptors. We do see the Prismatic Alignment. We do see the Archons coming in. Oh, these 4 Archons were out of position. They were not here. And the carriers will all go down. But there's no ground army. There is no ground army. Astrea, he can keep on pushing. He gets on top of the base. Hatchery will fall. Dark is morphing in Broodlords right next to the army. Very bold move, but he's going to be able to do so. Now, do we have an answer to these Broodlords, though? That's the question. We're getting into Tempest, so it looks like Astrea, he's aware that Broodlords are on the way. But Tempest is going to take a while for them to really come in. For them to hit the field. Dark has a lot of momentum right now. He does lose 2 hatcheries and 10 workers, but he's got a massive bank. The Broodlords have arrived, the Corruptors as well. And it looks like Astrea, he was thinking about maybe going for a base trade. But he's coming back. He does have his Tempest, to be fair. His cannons are doing a great job buying time. Here we go, the Tempests are going to be coming in from behind. Dark has to respect this, he has to back off. And even though Astrea lost all of his carriers, again, he dealt a big economic blow to Dark, and he didn't really lose too much either. He lost this Nexus, but didn't lose too many workers. And look at the bank. Like, Astrea still has a massive bank to work with. His base is going to be going down. Meanwhile, massive worker counterattack here towards the south. This base may fall. At the same time, center base of Astrea is being denied. Both players are hurting in their own ways. Both players just lost a hatchery or a base. We even have some broodlords harassing. My eyes are really on Dark right now. Like, Dark, he has the more mobile army. Like, where does he go from here? Like, I do think that there's a lot of pressure on him to deny the southern base or the northern one. Like, deny either one of these Nexi. But he's having a hard time catching Astrea out of position. As I say that, now he does. Lurkers, they wedge themselves between these two bases. Astrea is rotating over, but see how much he loses before that happens. Mainly Rumbai comes in. Good reaction. Center base has a kill, not a cancel on that Nexus. Here we go. The Corruptors are coming from behind. Oh! Oof. Almost get a Tempest. Looks like Astrea is going to hold on to this base for the time being. But he keeps getting that center base denied. Oh my god, over and over again. If this Nexus gets up and running, basically this is going to be a huge like anchor point for Astrea's army, because he can throw down cannons and shield batteries in the center of the map. And it's going to have a much easier time just pushing into these northern bases as well of Dark. But for now, big fungal on the Archons. Lurkers are going ham. The Archons will be cleaned up. Good pick up for Dark. Astrea coming in from behind. He just wants this Nexus. It's going to be an expensive loss here for Dark, but he's able to buy some time. Drags the army out of position. As he does move forward with those Corruptors. As this northern hatchery is going to be going down, we do have a massive link counterattack. These are Cracklings, by the way. 3-3 and Adrenal Glands. Next is going to be falling at the same time. Here we go. The Corruptors don't get on top of the Tempest. Again, so many Archons and Storms on the ground. Astrea doing a great job making sure he doesn't get caught off guard. Loses a couple of workers, but this is not an important base. Like, it's fine. This is the base that matters. Here we go, Astrea, finally. We have the Nexus, Pylons, Stasis Traps as well. He's taking this seriously. He wants this Nexus, but at the same time, Corruptors come in across some big storms. Oh my god. Dark taking a lot of storms to the face. His army is very battered, very bruised. He has to back off. Another Banelings. No. Big Baneling run by, takes down every single worker here, even Burrows as well. Just to be that much more annoying. Oh, the army's out of position. We still need this base. We need it, Papi. Okay, we do keep a couple units back at home to defend. But these Cracklings, they cracked. They're getting on top of the Archon. They do manage to get it in the end. Broodlords are rotating over. Astrea, looks like he wants to defend the space with only gateway units for now. He's relying on his stack defense while he does push in with his Sky Tools towards the south. Gaining some ground. Good revelations on the Corruptors and the Broodlords. I wasn't meant to zoom. I apologize. God, these lurkers are just such a nuisance. Banelings are going in as well. Zealots get annihilated by those Banelings. And they do get into the mineral line. At the same time, though, the center base of Dark also gets denied. Oh, there's an Ultra. Both players are hurting. We recall back home. Again, Astrea does not want to lose this base. I think he lost one Tempest in the retreat. But he's holding on to it. Now, because he was forced to recall, we can see Darky rotates over towards the south. He knows that now this southern base is looking very exposed. And if Astrea does respond a little bit too hard to this, I mean, he just lost all of his cannons. He lost all of his reinforcements. Like, this base is vulnerable once again. Up! Corruptors almost get a Tempest. As the Broodlords force the Skytos army to come down south, we have more Lings coming in towards the north. Astrea still hasn't been able to mine from this base. He wants to, Bobby. He wants to. He's running out of money. Astrea, he's running out of minerals. Just over time, just maybe trading a little bit too inefficiently and... Oh. I do worry for him. Big storms on the Lings at least. So both players are hurting in different ways. We have Dark running out of gas. Astrea is running out of minerals. If they could trade, maybe they would. But yeah, Dark needs to take control of these northern gas geysers. Needs to get them up and running. Without gas, he's not going to be able to rebuild his Corruptors, his Broodlords, his Vipers, any of his high-tech units. Here we go. We are going to be committing. We're going on forward here. Looks like no, once again. The Neurals, though. Oh, big Neurals on the Archons. But the Neural's going to run out. Oh, God. Oh, my God. The Archons, they go ham on the Corruptors, and it looks like Dark is going to lose everything. Every single Corruptor goes down. The Neural was not worth it. Oof. And that may just be it. Yeah, GG. GG gets called, and Astrea takes game number 2. Oh my god. GG, well played. It was a sick move to go for the mass neural on the Archons. But we saw that he couldn't do anything with that, right? He's like, what do I do now? Because the Archons were out of range of the Tempest, so he couldn't turn the tables on the Tempest. The Broodlords were not where they needed to be. The Broodlords were also out of range, so they couldn't focus fire the Archons either. They had to float on over to actually do so. So it wasn't the best setup for a fight for Dark, unfortunately. Even though the Neurals were good, the follow-up was lacking. And after the Neural ran out, it's like, oh, well, suddenly there are Archons under the Corruptors. And yeah, GG. Very well played. Very solid late game play there out of Astrea. I was really concerned that at how much he was struggling to take control of that center base. But I should have also put emphasis as well. We noticed it towards the end that Dark was also struggling economically, and he was also struggling to hold on to his own bases when it came to his own southern center base and the top left as well. And Dark was just, yeah, losing a little bit too much. GG, well played. Very nicely done here from Astrea. Again, his it was a really nice transition into that Skytoss in the end. He had a lot of map control for a long time as well. There were a couple of missteps and a couple of moments when Dark was able to clean up the Skytoss army. But at the same time, he was doing overall a great job at just keeping up with Dark. Really well done. GG. Alright, I'm catching up with the chat. A lot was happening. A lot was happening. The new Overlord speed buff will get those marbles on the map again. True, true. Oh, let's go, Papi. Let's go. Shout out to Gulp in the chat. There's like a discussion about queens in the chat. You're all animals. 12 megabytes. I've noticed he's always balance whining in the chat. I think half the time he's joking though. I think half the time he's just baiting a discussion. It's okay. All in good fun. All in good fun. But here we go. We're now getting into the ace match and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Dragon Scales. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Gaming. Oh, it is Dark. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the American Protoss player representing Macherino Esports, taking it to Dark in the late game. Coming out on top, it is Astrea. Oh. Here we go. The ace match, the final game here of the series. This could go either way. Now, we are on Dragon Scales, and as amazing as that last game was, the late game split map scenario on Ancient Cistern, I don't see that happening as often here on a Dragon Scales. It can occur, definitely. We can end up in a split map scenario. The difference is on Dragon Scales we have less bases. We have less bases, a little bit less longevity in this game, and as a result, things can escalate a little bit more quickly here. Likewise, we can talk about Dark. Dark as a player is a very aggressive player. He typically isn't fond of playing late game, and if he can avoid it, he will. And after what just happened in game 2, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Dark does go for a big roach timing, if he does just ramp up the aggression and look to end the game before we can even get anywhere near the late game. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this at least. That's kind of my perception of Dark after casting him quite a lot. Even though he's like, Dark is one of those Zerg players that he's so willing to turtle and get into lurkers and force a late game scenario, but specifically after what happened in that last game, I don't think he wants it again. And I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm talking about like Dark and what he's going to get up to this game after what just happened. I should be focusing on Astrea because Astrea is going full NA. We have a Robo Opener out of Astrea, very unorthodox. Typically it's a Stargate or a Twilight Council. With a Robo Opener we can go in a couple of different directions. This could be for a Disruptor drop. A standard thing would be a Disruptor drop. But if Astrea wanted to be a little bit fancy, this could be a Colossus drop. It could be, if we throw down 2 more gateways, kind of like a slow lot all in. It could be for a fast warp prism. Sentry is on the way. Interesting. Are we getting into Immortals? Are we going? I'm very intrigued by what is happening right now. We do have a Prism on the way. So far, only 1 gateway, but as soon as the Overlord goes down, we should be seeing more gateways thrown down. This Sentry is really peculiar. This could be the beginnings of a 2-base all-in from Astrea. Meanwhile, Dark link speed is about to kick in. He's going to be sending his links across the map to scout, to check, to confirm. Yep, Immortals are on the way. Okay, we're going old school. We are going old school here with what looks to be the beginnings of a Soul Train, or like an old school Soul Train kind of all in, with Immortals, with Sentries. I'm curious to see if Astrea takes a 3rd base or if he goes for a Gateway Explosion. So far, it's going to be 3 gates. I imagine we're going to throw down at least a 4th gateway, at least 1 more. But this is a really risky move, not going to lie. We're going for a vanilla adept drop into the main base. Like, 2 base all-ins like this are very uncommon in this matchup. At this level of play, I should say. That they're common on the ladder, don't get me wrong. But at this level of play, not so much. And yeah, we're going for a 2 base all-in. It's going to be 5 gates in total. We have 4 in the main, 1 in the natural. Immortal production well underway. And this Overlord isn't seeing anything. Now, so far, Dark is reacting well. He's got a Roach Warren already done at this point. He is droning, but not too much. That's the big thing he has to be careful of. If he does drone up too heavily, up to like 60, then he will be in a lot of trouble. As there we go, we're doubling down. This is what I expect. We have an 8-gate all-in. No Twilight Council, no charge, no blink. We have plenty of sentries. Harding, is that you? Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. As Astrea is going to be moving out across the map. Should be meeting up with the Warp Prism so we can reinforce. And, oh god, before that happens, though, an awful start for Astrea. The Lings, they catch out the sentries. They force out 5 force fields. And we need those. We need every force field we can get for the all-in, Papi. Astrea, he can expand behind this, but there are Lings out of the map looking to deny any kind of expansion. We have enough energy for, like, I think 2 force fields are left. Oh boy, that's a big blow to this all-in. A lot of power behind this is, yeah, force fields to just reduce surface area, to cut up the army. Lings, they force an overcharge across the map, and I'm gonna be very impressed if Astrea can pull this off. Would be shocked if he can pull this off. There we go. We do have the force fields being taken down by those Ravagers. Good juggling here from Astrea so far, keeping his Immortals alive. Another wave of adepts are coming in. The longer this goes on, the worse this is for Astrea. Bear that in mind. Biles will be connecting. Oh, they do connect with the army. Astrea trying to come in from behind. Trying to reinforce. Trying to snowball out of control. Dark is bringing forth his queens. We have more Ravagers on the way. That's a lot of adepts. That is a lot of adepts. And he is not going to be coming to the shade. Ravagers are going ham on this army. You can see the adepts are falling one after the other. And it may just be too much. Or Dark may just have too much. That's what I mean by that. We are going to commit. We're getting some of the Ravagers. Pretty good pickups here for Astrea. But it's costing him a lot of supply. Supply that he doesn't have to spare. A couple of workers are going down here at the 3rd base. Astrea trying to force the issue here, but the Immortals are looking exposed. They're being focused down one after the other. There is no transition. There is no way out here for Astrea. It's one and done. It either works or it doesn't. And so far, it's not. You can see Dark now eclipsing Astrea in the supplies. The game has just gone on for too long. And GG, well played, gets called. Dark will take the series 2-1, advancing on to the semifinals. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Dark. Congratulations to Dark for taking the series in the end 2-1. Oh, a really unorthodox all-in. I say unorthodox, I mean like an old school all-in out of Astrea. Very unexpected is maybe the better word to use. But we saw that Dark was able to get eyes on it ahead of time and forcing those 5 force fields was actually massive. Like, that just takes away those sentries basically from the fights. Like, we don't use them for DPS, we use them for force fields, and for them to lose those force fields before the fight begins, that was a massive blow to Astrea's all-in, and it did slow him down heavily. And yeah, as a result, it did feel like the all-in was doomed to fail from the beginning, which was a little bit heartbreaking to see. Part of me wanted to believe that maybe Astrea could pull something off or maybe transition out of it, but yeah, it's a very committed all-in, and in the end, didn't quite work out. GG, well played, of course. Shout out to Astrea for proving to us all that he can go to the late game with a player like Dark, right? Like, that was a very impressive game on Ancient Cistern for Astrea to be able to go toe-to-toe with arguably the best Zerg player in South Korea, one of the best Zergs in the world. And I feel like this is something that we all knew, right? That Astrea, he has really strong and really powerful late game play, and yeah, props to him. Props to Astrea. But alas, you know, there are of course other aspects and other facets of the game that we have to bring into consideration, and yeah, going for this all in was crazy, it was wild, and didn't quite work out. GG.